In this video, we're going to be building out custom dashboards that you can use for literally any aspect of your business. These are going to be on Google Sheets and they're going to be powered by n8n. The cool thing is that these are super quick and super easy to build out, but the options for how you can use these are essentially endless. Let me give you 4 examples as to how you could implement something like this into your life and use this every single day. First thing is that I have this recruitment dashboard here. We have thousands of people inquiring to join our team, and this essentially automates myself out of the process of having to deal with recruitment. I do have to spend a couple minutes every single day, but it saves me hours. So we get candidates coming from Indeed, which are automatically added to this Google spreadsheet, and then they're automatically rejected if they're not qualified. Then they're automatically sent questions, and if they pass those questions, then we're going to take if they fill out those questions, we're going to take a look and see the results. If we like it, we just check off one box here. They're sent a test. A test could be, if you're a photo editor, edit 20 pictures for me. If you are a content writer, write me a blog post. And then that whole process of sending them the test and receiving the results, that's of course all automated as well. And then they're moved on to an interview if we approve them, and we just have to check off a box here. And then we send off tons of notifications and all that kind of stuff. And this whole process is automated. So what took me hours before, it takes me a couple minutes now. The next thing here is we have tons of editing projects. We are a wedding company doing photography and videography, hundreds of different projects here. And essentially with a dashboard like this, it took me from having to do tons of work to completely removing myself from the process. How this works is projects will be added automatically into this Google Sheet, and then our editors will make sure everything's uploaded properly, all the files are there, and then one of the editors will finish the projects. A second editor will make sure everything is up to standards, and then our event coordinators will approve it, and then all they have to do is check a button. This will be sending the results back to the client, and then revisions can be added on here, and so on and so forth until the clients are happy. The next thing that we have here is an event schedule where we post every single one of our events. If we ever wanted to notify a contractor or we wanted to notify a client, we could just go ahead and click a button here and do whatever it is we want. Options are endless. And then finally, what we're going to be building out today is essentially like a mini sales CRM in a Google Sheet here, where when somebody inquires on our website, so think about like a traditional website like this, they fill out a quote form. This is going to be the quote form we're building using n8n. Very simple to set up. It's going to automatically add a client into this particular Google spreadsheet. And then we can do whatever it is we want. If we wanted to send that person an email or invite them to jump on a call with us, or send off an invoice, or if we wanted to send over our pricing, we can do all of that at a click of a button. In fact, I'm actually just going to do this right now. I'm going to start off by sending an invoice so that we can get the ball rolling here. Another thing we could do is we could automatically update stages here. So say somebody comes in as a new lead, we mark them as a lead. Once we get off a sales call, we mark them at the sales call stage, so on and so forth. The options are endless here. Let's take a look at that invoice that just got sent over to us right now. Let's take a look. We have this document viewed here, and that's essentially it. We can send this in a click of a button, and then the client can just sign and pay, and we're good to go. As always, with every single one of my videos, all the blueprints are going to be completely free to download. All you have to do is go up to these 3 dots right now, click that, and then import from a file, and then you're going to be good to go. This is located in the description down below. Before we get started, guys, if you like content just like this, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be releasing tons of other n8n automation videos. So I'm sure you're going to like those as well. With that being said, let's get into it right now. So just before we begin, I want to kind of go over the logic here. So we have a Google spreadsheet, okay? And this is going to be where we store all of our data. There's 2 major components to this. Data comes in, and then data goes out. And so we have data coming in from any source we want to, and it's sent through n8n, and we can update things in here. Like we can add, like, for example, clients in here, or we can change the stages from like new lead to sales call and that kind of stuff. And On the inverse, when we click buttons, say this is like send invoice over here, we can then go ahead and send that invoice over to the client. Or if this one over here is like, hey, I want you to send an email, or this one over here is I want to send over the pricing, all we have to do is click that, and this is just going to send over to whatever client it is that we have on that particular row. Let's get into building this out from the very beginning. So the first thing that I'm going to do in n8n is I'm going to choose to create a new workflow here, okay? And so with this workflow, the first thing that I want to do is I want to mimic this Google or this new lead form here. So the purpose is how can we get people from our website onto our Google Sheet form here. And by the way, this is going to be down below in the description as well in the blueprint section if you want to go ahead and download this. So we need to get people from this form onto this Google Sheet. And how we're going to do that is by first of all creating a trigger in n8n. And this trigger is going to be built into n8n. It's specifically going to be this on form submission, which is really nice. It's really cool that they have this in here. And you can go ahead and add this form submission onto your website if you'd like to. Now let's go ahead and create this form. I'm just going to call this like quote form here, and I'm just going to give a random description, get a quote, and we'll go ahead and ask for all the important information that we want to receive here. So I'm going to do first name, last name, email, and we'll do phone number, and then we can probably do budget as well. And I think that that is more or less everything that I'm just going to ask on this particular form. We can go ahead and test this step by hitting the button right here, which will direct us over to this form. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill in this information here so that we can get the ball rolling. So I'm going to put in a non-fake phone number. So if you want to call me, just make sure to dial that number right there, which is not fake at all. And the budget will be $1,000. Cool. So that looks good. The only other thing that I want to do here is I just want to change this budget over to probably a number here. We can pin this data up top here. What this means is that now all of a sudden, every time we want to run the scenario, I don't have to go over to this test button here, fill a quote form, go back and forth, because there's nothing more tedious than always having to do the same thing every single time. After all, we're automating, so we shouldn't have to do the same thing multiple times over again. With that being said, we're done the first part. We have our form submission coming in from n8n. So let's move on from here to the next step, which is going to be adding this information into the Google Sheet. We want to be able to push this contact into this Google Sheet on column or row number 4. So I'm going to search up top here for Google Sheets, and I want to choose append or update row. Now, append is just a fancy way of saying create or update. So it's a 2-in-1 step. It's actually a 3-in-1 step, because if you have to update, you have to search for somebody. So you're going to search and update, or you're going to search, and if it doesn't exist, you're going to create. So what we can do here is we can go ahead and create our credentials here by just signing in with Google. And then once that's good to go and out of the way, then what we can do is we can essentially just tie it towards the exact document that we're looking to add people to. Again, this document I'm going to use, but it will be down below in the description. If you want to go ahead and pause and just quickly type this in, all you need to have is column or row 1 here from first name all the way to date, and that's going to be essentially it. With that being said, we'll go ahead and select this particular Google Sheet, which is going to be the n8n custom dashboard, and we're going to be selecting sheet number 1. I don't understand. I wish they called it like tab down here, because I just feel like it's a lot more. It's a lot better of a name. But anyways, they call it sheet. And moving forward, all we have to do is just add in the information down here that we got from the form. So we can just drag this information into the particular columns on the center tab. Just one thing before we do that is, remember how I said that there was 3 functions built into this? There was create, there was update, but in order to update, you need to search for something. So we need to add a column to search by. And so what I want to do is select email here to search, because if you look at all of these, 2 people can have the same budget. Phone numbers can be entered in like 17 billion different ways. I don't know about you, but like every time I see a phone number, it seems to be formatted differently. Multiple people can have the same first name or last name, but the email is formatted the same way and it's always unique. And so we're going to search based on the email to see if that person exists. And if this email exists in the Google spreadsheet, it will update it. If it doesn't exist, then it will create a new row. So we can go ahead and just drag these fields into the center parameters field here. And yeah, we'll just go down the list. This is a bit repetitive, and you'll see that this box kind of blocks the next one. So I'm gonna work my way up from the bottom here just to save like a couple seconds. Okay, cool. I think we are good to go. The only other thing that I wanna do is just do like the date that somebody submitted here, the form, and that's essentially it. We can go ahead and test this step. Okay, cool. And you'll notice that it did not create the row because this person already existed. Now, if I was to go ahead and just change this to test@gmail.com, come back here and test this one more time, we're gonna notice that this time a column is added. And the reason why it's added on column 8 here is because one of these values has something in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this just so that we can have all of the rows one after the other. Essentially with these, we're keeping the styling here. Just as a note, I think this is really important to point out here. We're keeping the styling, and how we do that is we make sure that there's no value here. As soon as there's a value associated with this, like true or false, all of a sudden new rows will be added afterwards. It's going to skip over this because there's already a value assigned here. So we just want to delete this and make sure that there is the cell, but it's blank. And same thing with this drop down here. This is blank as well, because again, if there's something in here, it's going to skip over and add it to the next row. We can go ahead and try this out and make sure that it fits the formatting and is added to this next column over here, or this next row. Man, I've been getting rows and columns confused this whole video already, and we're only like a few minutes in. Cool. So that's pretty much it. So we can see that we have data that's being entered from a Google form into our Google Sheet. And we can also add in this rejected column here automatically. So let's say we want to reject somebody, we can come back in here and we could have like some expression here. What this expression is doing is fixed is just pure text, and then expression is like you can do formulas, you can drag things in from the side here, you can do code, whatever. We're gonna do a bit of code, but it's very simple, and I'll walk you through the whole process. We're gonna hit on our keyboard curly brace, and then we're gonna hit $, and you have all these boilerplate things popping up here. We're just gonna choose if. Now, if is a conditional logic, which means that if a condition is met, you go down path A. If not, go down path B. So again, what that looks like is if condition. So a condition could be like, if 1 equals 1, then you go down path A. But if 1 equals 1 is not true, then you go down path C. And so there's a conditional statement being held here, right? And so obviously this goes down path A. But if this was in fact 2, then it would go down path B as a secondary. So that's essentially what these if statements are doing. So what we'll do is we'll come back in here and we're gonna look at the budget here. And we're gonna see if the budget is greater than or equal to 1,000, then we're going to mark this person as not rejected or false. And if it's lower than that, then they're going to be marked as rejected. And I'm just going to put this in quotation marks here because it wants it to be a text value. So I'm just going to wrap this around quotations here. This might not work because this is actually a different data type. You can see it's text here, and you know it's text because there's quotations on each side, but this is a number, and text and numbers are different data types, so they don't always work together nicely. So let's go ahead and take a look. This should be not rejected, which it looks like it worked. So it automatically, I guess, converted this and knew that I was referring to text here, or a number here. And so we could go ahead and try this out and say, for example, $900. Is $900 less than 1,000? We can test this again. And all of a sudden, now they are rejected, right? And so that's more or less exactly how this works. Okay, sweet. So that's the first step, is we are adding data into the sheet, okay? And it doesn't just have to be this particular form here. It could be multiple different stages. Let's talk about another way you could get data in here. There's plenty, like there's countless ways that we can do this. Another way is we can have like a sales call with the person. And once that sales call is completed, then, for example, we could change this to sales call over here. Firstly, I just want to update this so that this actually says new lead when it comes through. So we're just going to update the stage here to new lead. And I want to make sure I spell this correctly when I say that. Okay, it's just lead. And so anytime somebody fills out that quote form, they're going to be marked as a lead in our system. But let's say we have a sales call and we want to update this to the actual stage sales call. We can go ahead and do that as well. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is that you don't just update this one time. Like this could be with a customer. You could have this spreadsheet tracking customers over years and years and years, and every decision and every stage that they reach in their customer journey with your business can be updating things. And so this is where it gets really powerful, because you're creating a custom dashboard that you can do essentially anything you want with. So let's go ahead and update this to represent the sales call stage. So we could have another trigger here, and I'm just going to duplicate this by holding Shift and dragging over it and then hitting Command D. And now in this instance, we're going to have a secondary form, and this secondary form we can call sales call. Now, with the sales call form, this would be like an internal form with your team. And this is just an example. You don't have to do this, but it's just one way of going about it. In here, you can have the same data, but instead of budget, you could ask them for the package that they're looking for. And this package could determine which invoice we send over to them. Do we want to send over package A? Do we want to send over package B for them to start signing and paying and all that kind of stuff? What exactly are we sending over? And so we can just choose, we can allow them to, or we can, be talking and conversing with the client over the phone, saying, hey, what package do you want? Like, what, package A sounds better for me. And then you just type it in here. And so that is more or less it in terms of this. So this looks good. Maybe we just add additional questions down here, like what's the service date, for example. And this could be like a date field. Okay, cool. So we can go ahead, save this and test this out now. And we can get to another way of adding in data. So again, maybe I'm on the phone with a client now and I'm filling out some information about the person. I need to make sure that I put in the right phone number, the right email for them. And then maybe they want package A and the service date for whatever I'm doing for them is at the end of the month. And we can go ahead and click submit. And now we have information over here. The package A, we have the service date here, and we can just now update. First of all, I'm gonna pin this data so that I don't have to keep submitting the form. And then we can update this Google Sheet with the rest of their data. I'll remove the budget because this has no bearing on the information from the sales call. This is from a past stage. And what I'm gonna do this time is I'm just gonna model the package and put it over here. And we can just change this to sales call. So the stage is now sales call. And if we circle back here, now what's gonna happen is we've changed this to sales call, added in the package that they wanted, and all of that kind of stuff. At this point in time, like we could just, for example, send over this invoice here, and we know that they have package A, and we're going to be talking about how to do this later on. But yeah, this is just a nice way to like kind of have data moving in. And another way that we get data moving in too is like once you send this invoice, if they go ahead and pay this, well, that's great. They just paid and they became a customer, and we can just enter that person back into this CRM where all of a sudden they're paid because they signed and paid, and we can just integrate this invoice straight in here. Same thing if we check the box send invoice, we can automatically change this to contract sent as well. So we can track the stages automatically as they're unfolding in real time. You don't even have to come in here and update these things. It just takes care of itself automatically for you. And so that's the first part, is getting data into the Google Sheet. Now let's talk about how we can get data out of the Google Sheet, because if I click here, I want to send this invoice to the client. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the extensions tab here, and we're going to build out a quick app script. And don't get worried about this because there's no programming whatsoever. All you have to do is you just have to copy and paste, and this will be in the description down below as well if you decide to get it for free. Okay, and so all of this is the script we're going to paste in, and we can copy, go into the app script, and then paste it in. The only thing that we need to change is this URL up top here. So I'm going to delete this completely, and you'll notice the two quotations are still there. We want to make sure those quotations are still there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create another workflow. And this workflow is going to have a trigger meaning it's going to start this workflow when we receive a webhook call. And so what this means is we're sending data from somewhere into n8n, and we're sending it to this endpoint. And when any data is received here, it's going to fire this workflow. So if I just listen to this step and I just plug this into a new browser, it said workflow was started. And so now we have data back from me just entering that URL into a new tab. But obviously we don't want to just enter that into a new tab. We want to make sure that when something's updated in this Google Sheet, we're having that response being sent into n8n here so that we can do whatever it is that we want to do with it. So let's go ahead and paste this URL right in here. Again, we have the quotation on one side and the quotation on the other side, and then we can save this and we're done. Okay, the only other thing that we want to do is go into triggers here, and we need to create a trigger. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this trigger and start again, just so that we can essentially do this together. There should be a button down here that's massive and blue, and I think my face is blocking it, but it says add trigger. You literally cannot miss it. Everything on this screen is good. We don't have to actually change anything except for this select event type, and this needs to be on edit instead of on change, or instead of on open. What this means is that anytime we edit anything, like just this or that, or this or whatever, or we check a box here, doesn't matter what it is, it's going to start this workflow, and that is going to send data into n8n, which is going to be caught right here to start our workflow. Okay, so we'll save this. It might ask you to save twice. Just make sure if it does down here, like it did this time, all you have to do is click save again, and then it'll work the second time. I don't know why. I think it's just like a Google bug or something like that. And it's gonna say this app is not verified. And it's correct because I haven't registered as a Google app developer, and I'm sure you haven't either, so it's gonna draw the same error for you. You can just go ahead and click advanced and go to untitled project and allow. Essentially, again, all we're doing here is we're just giving the ability to send data from this Google spreadsheet that we're creating here. Anytime anything changes, we're just sending it over here. So we can go ahead and test this out. And I'm just gonna write something random here, and we should receive the results in a couple seconds. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stop this because no data is coming in. The problem lies in this HTTP method. Essentially, in coding, when you send data over the internet, like sending data from Google Sheets via this script here into n8n, you can do certain tasks, if you will. One task is a get method, which is saying, I want to retrieve information from n8n and bring it back into Google Sheets. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to retrieve information and do something in Google Sheets with it. We're trying to send data from Google Sheets into n8n here. And how we do that is through posting, creating, whatever. And so by default, the data is being sent in a post method here. And so if we match the two methods, it will work now. So go ahead, test this data out. I'm just gonna type in here gibberish, and we'll get the results posted on the right-hand side here. Couple things worth pointing out. We can see the value that we just entered in the Google Sheet here. Again, we can see the value that we just updated. We can see everything on this particular row, which is also super nice as well. Everything from column 0 all the way to 13. In this, it's numbered, but here it's by the letters. So essentially, now anytime we update anything here, it's going to fire, which is fantastic. But the problem is that we don't want it to fire anytime we write in gibberish. We only want it to fire when we do certain actions. Those actions could be, for example, sending an email. When we click a box here, we want to send an email. When we click a box here, we want to send a calendar invite. When we click a box here, we want to send an invoice. When we click a box here, we want to send pricing, and so on and so forth. So how we do this is we're going to come back into our scenario here, and we're going to create another module, and this module is going to be a switch, okay? And essentially with this switch, we're going to have multiple different routes here. So the first thing is that I want to make sure that the row value, or sorry, the column start for this is going to be equal to, in this instance, I'm just going to focus, actually I'm going to do email. The row value is G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So row value is equal to 7. This is going to be the path to go down for sending emails. You can see it's highlighted red here because we're trying to reference text, but this is a number. We know it's a number and not text because it's green and not purple, and it doesn't have quotations on either side of it. So we can change this to is equal to 7. Okay, we can do the same thing here. Again, column start is equal to, as a number, man, I'm struggling to find that, is equal to 8. This is going to be to the path to essentially send a calendar invite, and then we'll just do one more, and it's going to be 9 here. We need to flip this over to expression, is equal to 9. Okay, cool. So we have 3 options here. And what this is essentially saying is, look, if we click column G, we go down the send email path. If we click column H, we go down the send calendar path. If we click column I, we send off the invoice. Now, the only other thing that I want to mention here is I don't want to send it off if this is false. I only want to send it off if it's true. And so we need to add one more step here, and this is going to be a filter step, okay? And this filter step is going to check if the value that we just updated here, right here, is this equal to true? So is this going to be equal to string is equal to true? And casing does matter, so it needs to be uppercase here. So we can go ahead and test this out, and it would have been discarded because, well, whatever the value was here is not equal to true. Now let's go ahead and test this workflow out again, but this time I want to send off an email here. So now we'll go ahead, wait for the data to come in, and it would have passed this filter because the value here, which if we scroll down is true here, is also equal to true. We know it went through because it was kept and it wasn't discarded. And then it went down the email path here. And so we could send off an email to this person, send a message, and yeah, we could do whatever it is we want to. We could pull in the person's email from column 2 here. And it's always going to be column 2 because this is the email column, which is column C. And we could just say, thanks for inquiring with ABC Company. And this could be plain text and be like, hey, Jono, or person's first name. And we'll just cut out the space here so there's not 2. Thanks for inquiring, best Jono, or whatever. And so effectively, if somebody was to inquire here, you could choose whether you wanted to send that email or not. Now, practically, you probably just want to send it automatically, but this is just an example of things that you could set here that are manual actions where you just click a button and then it sends automatically. Okay, perfect. So we can go ahead and test this out now. And so I'm going to uncheck it, and it's not going to pass the filter here. And then I'm going to try this again. I'm going to send the email, and now it's going to pass the filter, go through the switch, and then send off the email. And if I open up my email, now we can see that this message was sent. I just want to remove this. How I do that is I can go into the Gmail module here, add options, append n8n attribution, and turn that puppy off because I don't think anyone wants this on their particular workflow. That looks horrendous. Cool. I'm just going to do one more for today, and this is going to be how we sent off this invoice here so that you guys can get a good picture of how this kind of works. I'm going to be going over this pretty quick just because this is using Go High Level, and I didn't want to get like deep down the rabbit hole of using external softwares and then lose people on it. So the blueprints are going to be down below for free if you want to use it. It's pretty simple to set up. You can just upload the blueprints into Go High Level if you want to. But yeah, I just want to kind of express how this works really quickly. So we have this third path here, and this is going to be for sending the invoice. I'm going to set up an HTTP request here. This is going to be a post request, and I'm going to integrate this into my Go High Level CRM here. Now in Go High Level, I have this particular template here that I'm just leveraging. Okay, so if I go into the template, and I think it's this CRM integration proposal here, this is just a template that I literally copied or installed straight from their CRM. I didn't even create this myself. And this is kind of what it looks like. It took me less than a second to build. And then in Go High Level as well, you can essentially have this automations tab right here. In this automations tab, you can create automations just like in n8n. In this instance, this is the workflow I'm building. I'm not going to go too in depth into this. I'm just going to explain how this works. We have an inbound webhook trigger, which is more or less the exact same as this webhook here. It's waiting to receive data, and then it's executing stuff like sending an email, for example. And so we're going to send data from n8n into this workflow. We can copy the URL. It's the exact same thing as we did with n8n. We're going to paste it here, and I'm going to include a body. This body is going to be email, and we're going to include package here. And that's it. And so with this being said, we just need sample data here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the webhook, and instead of having to go back to the Google Sheets and forth and all this kind of stuff and testing it, I'm just going to pin the data here, and I'm going to edit this data. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the column start to 9, and it's going to be true. And that means that now it should run down this path, which will give us access to sending it off. Right now we don't have data because it's going down a different path. And if it's going down a different path, then you don't get access to the data. So we'll try this out. We'll fire it off. And now the data is being sent down this path because we modified the mock data to include switch statement is number 9. The column start is number 9. Now in here, we have access to all the data on the left-hand side, and we can just include in whatever it is we want. The package is in column 11 here, which I'm going to include. And this is, here. I included this on the sales form. So you could be talking to a sales, like a person and be like, hey, are you more interested in package A or are you more interested in package B? Then they tell you, you write it into the form and it's automatically submitted here like we were doing earlier. And so we're just going to map this into the package, and then we're going to include the client's email here as well. Okay, awesome. From here on out, it's going to receive that data, create a new client, take a look at which package they want, and then automatically send off this particular CRM integration proposal automatically. All we're doing to create the contact is we're adding in the email that we received in the webhook. So if we look at the inbound webhook here, we can see the email that we're passing through, the person's name, the package. And so we know to create the person, which path to go down, based on the package they chose, and then send off the document. Now we can go ahead, we can test this step out. Okay, it was a success. And let's go ahead and take a look and see if we received that email here. Awesome. So it was sent over to us, and then we can take a look at the document, just make sure everything again looks good on our end. You don't have to use Go High Level. You can use so many other tools to do this. One of my favorites is also PandaDoc as well. This is great. I use this all the time. You could do things like Sign Now or DocuSign. There's a lot of different contract builders out there. And so that's more or less it. That's how we can send data from this Google Sheet down different paths here. And we can add as many of these paths as we want. And then, in Go High Level, just as an example, if we had a document here, or if we had a payment received or an invoice that's paid, so if the invoice is paid, then we could essentially send data via a webhook back into here, and then this could update the CRM. This would be another workflow, but you'd send the data from a webhook here. You'd literally just put the URL here. It would send the data here. It would start in this workflow. You'd get to the webhook, you'd send it here. It would start this particular workflow just like we did here. And then you could more or less just add the data back in. So instead of having like these form submissions here, you just have a webhook, and that webhook would then send data back into Google Sheets. And so that's why this is so powerful, because it's not just forms that will allow you to send data into this Google Sheet. It's anything. It's really anything. Like you could have triggers here for webhooks right here. You could do on form submissions. You could even have like a chatbot on your website that sends data into that particular Google Sheets and updates it. And then you can trigger it on thousands of applications through n8n. So really there's the possibilities are endless, but that is in a nutshell how you can create your own custom dashboard using Google Sheets, how you can add people to it, how you can update it over time throughout the entire customer lifecycle stage. If that person paid, they would be marked as paid here, by the way. And then how, by clicking anything here, you can then all of a sudden send data out into n8n, and then you can do whatever you want. You can send an email, you can send a invoice. There's just so many options. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you're interested in this kind of stuff and you want to learn more, I do have my school community over here that I released about a month ago. And this is for people that want to essentially get access to all my blueprints, all of my additional training. There's dozens and dozens and dozens, soon to be over 100 different videos on this community that are unreleased on YouTube. We have weekly calls 5 days a week here that you can jump on. If you want to ask tech related questions, you can jump on our tech calls here. If you have business related questions, you can jump on here. Onboarding on Monday, custom workshops where we build out live solutions together. The options are endless. So if you're, whether you're looking for more blueprints or you just get like stuck on problems, like so many people will come to me and like in the community, like I literally tried to work on this for 10 hours and I just couldn't solve it. And then they jump on a call, solved within like, 3 or 4 minutes. The whole goal is just to expedite your learning curve so that you can get to where you want to be so much faster. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, hit that amazing flashy subscribe button down below if you like content like this and you want to see other content similar to this. All the blueprints are down below for free, and really appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.